You have the right to remain silent and not say anything. Any oral or written statement you make.
Candy Montgomery, at one point, was a quiet homemaker and wife to Pat Montgomery. The two lived in small-town Texas and were devout Catholics. But when Candy met a woman named Betty Gore, she began having an affair with Betty's husband, Allan. On the day of the event, Allan had left town. When he couldn't contact his wife, he asked neighbors to investigate. The neighbors found a crime so horrific that it sent shockwaves throughout the country. Eventually, Candy was arrested after she pleaded self-defense. In another shock move, she was found not guilty of Betty's death despite the large amount of evidence that it was not self-defense. The move garnered tons of criticism, yet to this day, both Candy and her husband Pat are free and living in America relatively undetected. Today we're covering Candy Montgomery, the woman behind Hulu's newest television show, Candy. Tomorrow though, you decide. Let us know in the comments down below who you think we should cover on the next few episodes of Where Are They Now. While you're there, don't forget to like this video so we know you enjoyed it and can keep making more videos like it. Let's get into it. Candy Montgomery, for all intents and purposes, is a perfectly normal, good housewife. When she and her husband moved to Wylie, Texas, they regularly attended a Methodist church. Candy herself was a pretty, vivacious, utterly normal suburban housewife who was known by others as a loving mother, devoted wife, a churchgoer, and everyone's friend. And honestly, she wasn't putting on an act. She really was as normal and likable and good as she appeared, except for one dark corner of her soul that even she didn't know about. It was while attending church that Candy first met a woman named Betty Gore. They became extremely close through church activities and were the picture of the country they surrounded themselves in. Wylie, Texas was pure, safe, untroubled, innocent, and a vision of the American dream. As Candy would later recount it in court, she remembers the precise moment when she decided she would cheat on her husband with Betty's husband, Allan. It all started on the church volleyball court on a late summer day in 1978. Candy and Allan both tried to make a play on the same ball and collided. It was a harmless bump that went unnoticed by everyone else in the court, but for Candy, it started something. Candy then began fantasizing about an affair. Allan, for his part, was equally as involved in the church. He sang in the choir, helped organize the sports team, and did all the things that his wife didn't seem very interested in. So it became that Candy and Allan spent a lot of time together. At 30 years old, she felt that she wanted something exciting. And being delegated the church-going housewife meant that there wasn't much room for excitement outside of fantasizing about this affair. And lucky for Candy, Allan seemed equally as receptive to the idea. At this point in their lives, both the Gores and the Montgomerys had 2 children each, and it was later described by both parties that their respective intimacy within their marriages just wasn't there anymore. Both individuals had grown complicit in their relationships. And so the affair became a solace for both Allan and Candy, who met weekly during his lunch break from work. And for a few months, it worked out for them. They were happy with the secret that they had with one another. That was until Betty began to notice a rift between her and Allan. They had grown bored of one another and she wanted to fix it. So she and Allan spent a weekend at a getaway to attempt to save their marriage. And it actually worked. By the end of the weekend, Allan had felt that he wanted to fully commit himself to his wife and his family. He was ready to become solely Betty's husband again. So he met with Candy and told her that he wished to end their affair. At first, she was really upset. She had grown used to loving 2 people at the same time, and both Allan and Candy knew that their affair was almost more emotional than it was physical near the end. But Allan was dead set on committing himself to his family, so Candy respected that. A short while later, Candy and Pat attended the marriage counseling weekend as well, and though they enjoyed it, they didn't feel the same kind of life-changing experience that Betty and Allan had had. But both couples headed into the summer of 1980 with a sense of peaceful happiness about their lives. That would soon change. One weekend, Allan went to Minnesota from Texas for a work trip. While there, he all of a sudden couldn't seem to get a hold of Betty. She was always at home. Their second child was only a few months old, and Betty was an extremely attentive mother. By the time 10 p.m. rolled around with no word from her, Allan began panicking. He called 2 of his neighbors and asked them to go to his house to see what was going on. They did, finding the front door unlocked and all the lights on inside the house. Once in there, one of the neighbors discovered the baby in her crib, crying, having obviously been left unattended for hours. She was taken to safety by that neighbor, while the other one kept searching the house. Eventually, he came across the utility closet where he discovered Betty, who had died from multiple axe wounds. Candy immediately was the prime suspect once Allan told police that he had ended an affair with her, and after she told him that she saw Betty on the day of her death. Initially, when she was taken in by police, the community supported her, because it was Candy after all. She would never do such a thing. But when the trial finally began, Candy's attorney, a local personal injury lawyer, stunned everyone with the declaration that his client would plead self-defense. As Candy's story goes, she went over to Betty's home to pick up a swimsuit for Betty's oldest daughter so that she could take her to swim practice before the daughter and Candy's kid had a sleepover. While the two women were seated at Betty's dining table, Betty accused Candy of sleeping with Allan. Candy admitted that she had done so. In Betty's rage, she went to the utility closet and grabbed an axe, although she didn't swing it at Candy. It was more of a threat for the other woman to never see Betty again. But while Candy was going to leave, Betty became enraged again and swung at her with the axe. The two women fought for a while before eventually Candy got a hold of the axe and wounded Betty on the head before they tussled again. Eventually, Candy was able to take down Betty. While in court, as Candy is recounting this horrifying incident, she's crying silently and shaking. She keeps enunciating that she didn't mean to hurt Betty, but that it was an act of self-defense. Despite wounding Betty an astounding 41 times with the axe, Candy was found not guilty on reason of self-defense within a few days. Not much is known about what happened to Candy after the trial. There's only the barest hint of what became of her. She claimed that she wanted to, quote, get the past behind her and live normally again. She and her husband, Pat, decided to move to Georgia, where reportedly Candy got the certification to be a mental health therapist for teens and young adults. It was also reported that Candy and her husband later got divorced, although none of this is confirmed. Candy apparently now goes by her maiden name of Candace Wheeler and has been extremely quiet and off the radar since that day in 1980. One thing we do know for sure about the gruesome tale, however, is that Hollywood just can't seem to get enough of it. Only 10 years after the whole ordeal took place, a made-for-television movie called A Killing in a Small Town depicts the case in all its dramatics. And now, two separate renditions of the tale are set to be released at the same time, one on Hulu and another on HBO. The Hulu one is called Candy, with Jessica Biel playing the titular character. The HBO one is called Love and Death and stars Elizabeth Olsen, the woman who just finished playing Wanda in the Avengers movies. So, do you think you'll be watching the series? Also, do you believe Candy's tale that it was an act of self-defense? Or do you think that Candy initiated the fight as a way to get rid of her lover's wife who had found out about the affair? Let us know in the comments down below. While you're down there, make sure you subscribe so you can stay updated when we post our next video. Thank you so much for watching this episode of Where Are They Now? I've been your host, Sierra. See you next time.